Ooh, it's moving.
Forested ecosystems are the most advanced technology that we have on Earth.
This is the most exhilarating interview I've ever done.
I'm a book nerd. I got books and trees, right? Like, this is made out of paper. I'm totally okay with that.
Back on the earth.
Soon, we're gonna hang out with Adrian in one of his cypress trees. But first, I'd love to show you this forest and introduce you to some of my tree friends. Climbing is one of my greatest passions. This tree I am in is a mighty Douglas fir tree, about 500 years old and a little over 300 feet tall. The old world view is that if this tree is left to stand, it is going to waste and decay and has no value beyond being chopped down for timber. To compare the lifespan of this tree to a human lifespan, this tree is about 40 years old, which is how old I am. 1,000 years is the lifespan of a Douglas fir tree. And the fascinating part is that after this tree dies, its contribution to the forest increases because it feeds the forest and provides habitat. The dead trees of this forest literally give life to the living. Without them, these forests would not exist. What are we losing by primarily seeing these forests as dollar signs and profits, as opposed to powerful, complex living systems we know so little about? Now, let's go 2,000 miles southeast to Kintsugi Ranch, where Adrian has beautiful cypress trees, enormous old-growth pecan trees, and some of the biggest cottonwoods I've ever seen. The first tree that I ever climbed was in my grandparents' backyard. Great. This guy's just a total badass. Like during all of our lunch breaks, he would go to the outdoor workout, like where the dips and pull-up bars are. And he was in his like mid-50s back then. I was 11 years old, and he would just rail dips after dips after dips, pull-ups after pull-ups, like bang out like sets of 20 over and over. He was the person that really showed me, like, if you take care of your body, you can do so many things with it. And at that young age, it left such a strong impression to see this person in their 50s, so disciplined and so focused. All he wanted was his body to be as functional for as long as possible. It's amazing because last year he actually visited me and he was 80 years old and we climbed an old growth tree together. All right, here we are.
All right, this is it. This is the tree that I've been eyeing for a while. I've always thought one day I'm gonna climb this with my son, obviously. You know, it's so straightforward. Oh, look, and that squirrel likes it.
Oh, wow. Hey, squirrel.
But it is whipping around up there, a lot of wind, so.
Yeah.
Are you nervous at all? Does this make you nervous?
I wouldn't say I'm nervous, but just for safety protocol, this is on the windy side. I think thunder and lightning is the main thing to stay away from because it's a huge risk to be up there, especially with electronics, which will attract lightning. So not doing it in lightning is a very good idea. I'm very fortunate that some of my close friends are world-renowned climbers and they do a lot of crazy free soloing, especially on ridge lines, and they show me photos from their adventures and it blows my mind, but also I love to push limits when I'm on a rope and a harness. Like, I just feel like I'm able to push limits so much more. And with the trees I climb back home, like there's one in particular, the tallest tree, the lowest limb is about 150 feet above the ground. So huge. And it would be impossible to climb it without rope.
Hi. Hey, guys. Hello.
Like on this
Ooh,
branch
it's
and that
moving.
branch, and that way we're kind of close to each other.
Whoa, it's disorienting.
So it's definitely windy, but it's in the realm of normal. I would not go up any higher on this.
I don't know, we're about 100 feet up here. It's pretty high, pretty windy. Don't do this at home, kids. This is for entertainment purposes only.
There we go.
Not for imitation purposes, okay? So, there goes the wind. So, my man, thanks for coming to visit us here at Earth Speed.
Yeah.
Been wanting to visit you in the trees for a long time. Been a fan of your content and your channel. Not just the images and the visuals, but also for the education and the knowledge that you're sharing about how there's so much life and so much diversity and complexity up up in the top of the trees that we have taken for granted for so long. So I want to hear all about your relationship to that work and the trees, and I don't know where you want to begin.
We know a lot about forest ecosystems at a certain level, but through the framework of Western science and really being able to explain how these systems function is a radical and kind of frontline science. Like I was saying earlier, the first time that humans ever went up in the canopy of the trees was 1987. And then canopy research has been relatively new from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. I think just to take a big step back is our primary relationship with forests through the lens of modern civilization has been to see them as a commodity, as profit. And so much of our understanding, our mainstream understanding of forest is through logging industry misinformation. And that I think has been the biggest learning curve for me personally. So I was into climbing, mainly through rock. And then on a whim, I don't know what it was, you could just say the beings of the forest called me in it. But I got into tree climbing. I was building trails out in the wilderness and was into rock climbing and surrounded by all these big trees and just got into them. And as I got into tree climbing and also just as I aged into maturity, I knew that I needed to understand what was going on from a policy and ecological management perspective. Because I think a lot of people intuitively, they care about nature. They care about protecting nature. But what does that actually mean? On the ground, boots on the ground. Forested ecosystems are the most advanced technology that we have on Earth for creating a climate where humans can flourish. Literally, these ancient ecosystems created the conditions necessary for human existence. And if we allow them to operate in the way that they have evolved over hundreds of millions of years, we can still live here. If we can understand how to let these ancient ecosystems kind of reclaim their might, regain the stance that they had hundreds of years ago, it will allow human civilization to flourish long into the future.
Just need to remind people where we are. This is the most exhilarating interview I've ever done.
That makes me happy to hear. I'll just use some examples. I'm a book nerd. I got books and trees, right? This is made out of paper. I'm totally okay with that. Ancient Forest of the Pacific Northwest by Elliot Norse. This is really amazing. And it shows, it's a chronicle of how undervalued and misunderstood ancient old growth forests are. And the Pacific Northwest has some of the most productive forest on Earth. They're the second most carbon dense ecosystems in the world, and they're absolutely prolific, and they've been massacred over the last couple hundred years. And some of the typical misunderstandings about these ancient forests is that they're only seen through the lens of a commodity, right? So old kind of timber industry propaganda is to think of old forest, what they call them, decadent or wasteful. It's these old trees, they're just going to fall over and die, therefore they're wasteful. But that discounts the fact that when a tree dies, in a way it's really beginning its biggest contribution to a forested ecosystem, because these trees, they're organic matter that feeds thousands and thousands of species as they're decomposing.
My sense of you is you've collected a lot of knowledge and you have a lot to share.
Yeah.
You seem very focused on trees. That's remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people have that much patience to really dive deep into something.
Mm-hmm.
Get up high and dive deep.
Yeah.
Which is so incredible. I mean, I commend you for that. Describe it to us. Tell us about what's up here that we're not seeing, or that we only until 1987 have started to understand.
Ancient forests have evolved for hundreds of millions of years. They forests first appeared on planet Earth in the, I think it's pronounced Devonian period, which was about 390 million years ago. And with Pacific Northwest forests, they started to really take over and achieve their might in around 10,000 years ago, after the glaciers started to recede in the Pacific Northwest. Forests, they do a lot for humans. They store water, they sequester carbon, but there's also the role of biodiversity, which I think most people understand is very important for life on planet Earth. And natural native ecosystems are biodiverse inherently. And through logging, we have destroyed the native biodiverse forest. These micro ecosystems that have species that we don't even know about. You can think of an old growth tree, especially again, I'm speaking more Pacific Northwest. They're miniature cities. So the canopy of these old growth trees support hundreds of species, especially lichens and moss. In some of the larger canopies, you'll have like berry bushes growing out, because all the epiphytes they'll produce soil as well. So you actually have like little tiny gardens, natural gardens, like blueberries, huckleberries growing 200 feet in the air. You'll have licorice fern up there, and other epiphytes, especially lichen, which is incredible. And there's hundreds of different species of lichen as well. And then the bird population. And I'm really understanding how critical bird diversity is for just like the life force on planet Earth. So huge amounts of bird populations. And in forested ecosystems, they go through these life cycles. And every stage along the way will support different forms of species. And I'm also learning now with wildfires, and I really need to be explicit that wildfires are inseparable from forest. In our culture, we've begun to see wildfires through a very, very negative lens. But from a biological and ecological perspective, wildfire is like the birthright of a forest. Most often what we do, like our history, is to fight fires, to suppress them, Smokey the Bear. Not only that, but if a fire rolls through, we see it as catastrophic destruction. And natural wildfires, they're called mixed severity fires. So mixed severity means that they can be mild and moderate, which there's not a lot of damage, they're not very hot, all the way to like scorching and really big, really intense, and they can kill. Like a moderate fire will just sweep through the undergrowth, and the trees won't be harmed at all. But the biggest thing that I'm learning as becoming, more of an expert is just how misinformed we are about the power that our forests have and the way that we need to treat them.
The power of nature to restore itself, to be regenerative, to be resilient, to bounce back, if we only were just to take a step back and let it do what it does best, which is resilience. Yeah. Like through complexity, through the amount of diversity. The oceans, if we stopped fishing for a year, they'd be replenished. Yeah. But we're just compulsively extractive, just within the way in which we see our relationship to nature. Yeah, well, I made a decision many years ago that I wasn't going to participate in any film projects that didn't reflect my values, because it was like driving with the brake on. Mm-hmm. I had all this stuff that really mattered to me in the world, in life as a human, and then I was creating all this content that was inspiring a lot of darkness, or at the very least it wasn't supportive of what I wanted to build in the world. So wanted to realign my all my effort in not just doing the work, but also telling the stories of the work. One of the issues in the way we relate to nature is we think we know more, and we try and impose our ideas onto it. Mm-hmm. And so how do we step back and not be so smart about how to fix everything? Just getting into the rhythm of the earth, into the earth speed, the cadence of nature, and know that there's no absolute top-down answer to solve or to heal or to fix. It's almost like it's an imperialist notion to think we need to fix the earth, or we need to fix people. Maybe it's we need to just listen more and just know that we already are part of that process. And I do believe that we humans may be that forest fire across the land. You know, we may have, there may be some value that we humans, because we are of the earth, we are emergent from, there may be some value that we are creating. It seems like destruction, but maybe there's something that we don't understand yet. Like the caterpillar eats, you know, more than its share, and it's like ravenous and eating way too much. And we just don't know it's doing that to become a butterfly. You know, it needs that, it needs to consume way more than it seems like it needs, because there's a bigger intention, bigger purpose. Yeah, I mean, a healthy amount of humble, I guess.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that humility, I think, goes so far, and this notion of saving the planet. You were speaking with Leah Thomas about that same notion as well. My favorite scientists, they're so humble because they're willing to just observe the land as it is. And when you start to see how these systems function, you realize that they have the answers. So humility is a huge part of it. And then I also think, as far as like on the ground conservation, it's one thing to protect forests, but if you don't change, if the value system of society doesn't change, then we're going to continue needing more resources to fill this misguided value system that we have.
And that's a longer lead.
It is. It's huge. It's absolutely massive. It's not just about conservation. It's about radically changing what we give worth to and what we find valuable and what our measures of success are.
There's a director friend of mine, Tony Stone.
Okay.
He has a couple films. You've seen Stander?
I have not, no.
Bro, you'll like Stander. Stander, no, so not Stander, Primer.
Primer, okay.
Primer, it's a time travel movie.
Right.
Two college kids made it. It's a 1-for-1 film. So like every single frame that's in the movie is the only frame they shot. Low budget and high concept. So that's the way they got away with it. But it's a time travel movie, so it's extremely complex.
Yeah.
You should check out that movie.
Primer.
It's not in the natural world, but you'll get a sense of it's a great movie. But then Tony Stone does a lot of really cool stuff in nature, and he goes out and he becomes the character. Like he did a Viking movie, and became the Viking and went out and like lived out in the woods and like built his hut and filmed the whole thing. And like basically it was very romantic and beautiful. Yeah, man, cool, man. Well, I'm so happy we were up here, man. This is really satisfying.
Good.
I haven't seen our land from this vantage.
Yeah.
And now I'm used to the swaying, so I could probably be up here all night. But let's get some drone footage.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Thank you.
Cool.
All right, guys. Like, subscribe, all that jazz, and why don't you tell everybody where to find you?
Yeah, the artist name that I go under currently is Tree Crown Dreams. Tree Crown Dreams.
Yeah, check it out at Tree Crown Dreams. Peace.